Well, hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we've got a Lightburn tutorial on making rulers. Well, at the end of 2023, I did a show on making a retro style pencil box, and the lid of that pencil box had a ruler engraved in it, both metric on one side and imperial on the other. And I've received multiple requests for you guys to be able to learn how to do this and for me to do a tutorial on how to make rulers, and that's what we're going to do. So there's not much really to do out here in the shop, so we're going to head inside, jump on the computer, fire up the Lightburn, and we're going to get this tutorial started. So the first thing that we're going to do, you need to decide what size of ruler you want. We're going to start with a metric ruler first, and we can just draw a rectangle here. It doesn't matter what the size is. It makes absolutely no difference. But at this point now, we're going to change our size and make it the size of our ruler. Now, these are going to be little pencil case rulers, so we don't want them any longer than 6 inches, or in this case, we're going to say 155 millimeters. So we're just going to come up here to the top. We're going to unlock our shape. We're going to make our length of it, or in this case the width because it's across the screen, 155 millimeters. We're going to come down to the height, and at this point we want to decide how tall we want our ruler to be. And for us it's going to be a small ruler, so let's just say it's going to be 25 millimeters, and we can add that value in, hit enter, and it has now changed our size of our box for our ruler. Now we can at this point lock that in so that this now holds its proportions, and what we need to do is we need to set our layer. If this is going to be our cutting layer, we need to come down here to cuts and layers. We can double click in our control panel up top, and we can see here our speed, our maximum power. So for us, we're going to go, in this case, 5 millimeters per second, and we'll do a speed, or a power rather, of 80%. We use line and one pass, and this should cut the ruler just fine for us. We now need to draw a line for our ruler. So we're going to come up here and click on our pencil. We can come back down to our grid, it doesn't matter where, and we're going to hold the shift key, and anywhere here we're going to draw a line. Now holding the shift key will make it so that it is perpendicular to our ruler. So now we can hit escape here, and there is our one line. Now guys, you need to decide how big this line is going to be. We've already said that our ruler is 25 millimeters. We're doing a millimeter scale ruler. We don't want our line to be longer than 25 millimeters, so we are going to click on this line and we're going to shorten it. And our height here, let's just say it's going to be 10 millimeters. There we go, just like that. So there is our line. So you want to highlight this, and then we're going to click array, and we can see here how many columns do we want. Well, we want 9 columns, sorry, 10. We're going to do 10 columns here, total width of 9 millimeters, and the spacing, this is the important part right here, the spacing is 1 millimeter apart. That will give us the accuracy that we need for the ruler. So we're going to click this as OK. We're going to zoom in here, and we can see that we have our lines. So what we want to do is we're going to change this up a bit. We want to change the lengths of these lines. So we're going to leave the marks at 0, or our numbered marks, and 5. So this one right here we want to leave long as well. So our other ones we're going to shorten. So we can drag to the left. That will highlight all of them, just like that. So the first thing you want to do is you want to unlock them, because if not, it's going to change all of the proportions. So unlock that shape, and we're going to drag this down here. We're going to go to 6 millimeters to shorten it. And then we are going to do the same thing with these ones over here. We can click in between, drag to the left. You see that green box? That means it's going to incorporate everything it touches. We will keep it unlocked, and we'll take those down to 6 millimeters. Again, click that just like that. Now from here, guys, we can highlight again, dragging to the left, incorporate everything here, and then come up to the top, and we are going to align top so that they all match. And there we go. This is the array of our ruler. We now want to drag across it, come up to Arrange, click that, and group it. These now are all one unit. And that is also the number markings of our ruler, from 0 to 5 millimeters, and then from 5 to 9. One thing I see here, I don't like this here being, this is our midpoint measurement in our centimeters. I don't like this being that long. So we're going to highlight everything again. We're going to click Arrange. We're going to ungroup them and click on just this one here. And instead of 10 millimeters, we're going to make it 8. And then we will do the same thing that we did before. Highlight them all. Click over here, align the top. Again, highlight them all, arrange, and group. So at this point we have all of our lines. We have grouped them all so that they can stay together. We can move them however we like. But what we want to do now is make them into a ruler. So we're going to back off a little bit here so you can see what's happening. We're going to click and highlight. If you're having problems highlighting, make sure that you've got your pointer arrow up here highlighted, and then you can click on here. But once you get it highlighted, click Array. And once again, it's the same process. How many centimeters across did we say we were going to do? It was going to be a 15 centimeter ruler. So if we change this to 15 centimeters or 15 X columns across and click OK, look what we have. We have a ruler. And we can now drag this across like this, highlight them all just like we did before, arrange, group them. And now what I want to do is I want to make this now so that we can add our numbers. And guys, this isn't really rocket science here. It's just a matter of clicking on your number and clicking here and adding a 0. And then clicking here and adding a 1. And then here and a 2. All the way across. Now, we don't have an end line here. And that's okay. We can add one in just a second here. We can even go into our array and add one extra and then ungroup it and eliminate the end lines. So why don't we do that? Here, we'll add our 15 first. We'll come over to this end, choosing our arrow. We're going to choose this here that we've grouped. This is going to be a little overkill, but we're going to go into array. We're just going to do 2 of them, like that. And like I said, I know this is totally overkill. And if we zoom in on this last section, we can click this, we can ungroup it. So as long as we've ungrouped properly, we can come across here, highlight just to the edge of that number 15 like that, hit delete, and there is our ruler. There you go. Look at that. Now our numbers are a little wonky, so not to worry. all the way across, dragging from right to left to incorporate all the numbers. And then up here, we can highlight up here, we can align the bottoms or the tops. Let's do the bottoms. There you go, just put them all in place. And if you really want to get fussy here kind of thing, what you can do is on each one now, you can shift it over to get it centered on your line. I know it's going to mess up your vertical alignment that you just did, but you can fix that after. So we're going to change them all, placing them where we want them in the center of our lines, just like this. Okay, so do that with all your numbers and get them aligned the way that you like them. And once you get them aligned with all your lines, just like I showed you just now, we can drag from right to left. You get that green circle, incorporates everything that it touches. We can come up here to the top, align them by, let's do the centers this time. Align them by their centers. And now everything is perfectly aligned. Come along here, highlight everything. We're going to click Arrange and Group, and now your ruler is complete, all of the measurements. Guys, at this point, what I like to do is come down here and assign the numbers to their own group. So we're going to highlight them, click Group 01. We're looking at our speed here. I'm not a big fan of that speed. We're going to do a speed of 120 millimeters per second. And let's do a power of 65. That is more than sufficient with the laser that we're using today, which is a 20 watt longer Ray 5 laser. And we'll click OK. Looks good to me. And if you're curious as to how this is going to look, you can click up here in this little TV screen and we've got an issue there because we've set this to fill, which would work for the numbers, but not for the lines because there's no closed spaces here. So that's interesting. So we're going to change this to line, still the same settings. We're going to ungroup this. We're going to highlight all of these and we're going to change them to their own group. And those ones will be the same setting as our lines, which was 120 millimeters per second and 65 power. And once we get that done, again, we can highlight everything and now we can group it again. And even though it's in separate laser outputs, it doesn't matter. They can still be grouped. So if we back off now and we join all this together, highlight everything, we can come up to the top, we can align vertical centers, just like that, and then come to our next area and we will align the top. And we'll just zoom in here. And guys, look at that. You've got a 15 millimeter metric ruler that is pretty darn accurate. So let's burn one of these and see how we do. Guys, the following clips do include footage of the laser in action, which includes flashing lights. So if you are someone who is affected by that sort of thing, please do whatever it takes to protect yourself. Now guys, this is a great way to use up scrap material. So we're just going to use this piece of scrap ply. I believe it's 1/8 of an inch thick plywood. And we're going to frame up our project and give it a cut. All right, we'll just shut that off. Guys, look at this. Look at how gorgeous and professional that looks. With that air assist, nice and clean, really looks sharp. You can make these as big or as small as you want. You can customize them. You can add a child's name, a business name. You can add a hole for hanging. You can do whatever you want with these, and it's just a very quick project to do. And the Longer Ray 520-watt laser does an amazing job of cutting these. So what about the accuracy? Well, let's have a look at that. Now, I'm not sure how well the angle of the camera is showing that, but guys, that is bang on the money. That does not deviate at all. It is exact all the way across from the millimeters to the centimeters. Just a great engraving. That looks amazing. Now guys, I'm not going to go through the whole process here of how to do an Imperial ruler, but I'll give you a few hints of what you need to do, because the process is exactly the same for what I've shown you. For starters, up here where we see millimeters, you want to click on that and change it to inches before you start doing anything. And when you go to do your array, I'm just going to draw one line here. There we go. So there's our one little line, and we need to do our array. Where the difference is here, guys, is in the spacing. You still click the same numbers, but if you're doing 16ths, then of course you need to adjust the number of X columns you need. But where the space changes is right here. It depends. If you're doing 30 seconds of an inch, then you need to put the decimal for 30 seconds of an inch. If you're doing 16ths, which is a little more common for a laser ruler, then you need to do 16ths. And you'll get that by taking 1/16 and turning it into a decimal. In order to do that, you take 1 and you divide it by 16, and that will give you 0.0625. That is the number you need to add, and that will give you 16ths of an inch. And if we just click here, there we go. There's 17 of them, and we can see here that the total width is 1 inch. And we click OK, and there is our ruler lines spaced out at 1/16 of an inch. So that is where it's important that in the array you get the decimal places correct for the increments that you're trying to do. If you're doing 30 seconds, then you would take the number 1 and divide it by 32, and you would get the decimal equivalent for that, which would be 0.03125, and that is what you would enter for your spacing. Other than that, guys, the process is exactly the same. There is no difference. And there you go, making your own rulers using Lightburn. And there you have it. Rulers done using Lightburn and your laser engraver. Guys, this show was by viewer request, and I hope that it has fulfilled the request and that it has answered any of the questions you have. It is a fairly easy process, and while it seems like it may be a little bit tedious and a little bit cumbersome, once you get the gist of it and you get into it, you can really do some great stuff with it. And the best part is, once you save the file, you only have to do it once. There's no need to go through all of that array arrangement and the spacing and the measuring and all that stuff. There's no need to do that a second time. Once you do your initial program and you do your test burn and you verify it against a known accurate ruler, you're good to go. Save the file and you can print as many of these as you want. Just let the laser keep going. You could take your entire ruler as it's grouped and array it across and down to do an entire 12 by 12 sheet of the 1/8 thick plywood. You can have the laser just continually going and cut 30, 40 of these at a time, whether they be for gifts or whether they be for sale, whatever they may be for. Guys, it's a great idea and a very easy project. Either way, if you have a laser engraver and you use Lightburn, I hope you're going to give this one a try, because it really is kind of a cool little unit. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week. I want to thank you for the request, for the suggestion on the show. I hope that, as I said, I hope it's answered all your questions. Guys, if you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. We have an amazing audience base here, and I'm hoping that you're going to consider becoming a part of that. I want to thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you're going to try this one for yourself. I hope you're going to give it a whirl, and maybe if you have Imperial or metric, you're going to make your own little shop rulers or ones to keep with your laser if that's what need be. But more importantly, guys, I hope you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another Alternative Tuesdays.